Hey guys, having a pretty rough morning. When I went to start my first two sessions, my computer started to update out of nowhere. It's never done that before. It's never updated without my permission, and it's never taken longer than a minute, but it took over an hour. So I missed my first two classes of the day, and it's the last class, and we were going to talk about the ending to Brave New World. So I feel like I have to film myself, and by doing this, everyone, whether you're there for class or not, can get to see it. So this is our last class, and we're discussing the ending to Brave New World. Last week and on Tuesday, we discussed information, how it's withheld and is, disseminated in a way that's controlling to the people. After a long conversation between John and Mond, in which Bernard and Helmholtz actually just watch, they don't really have a whole lot to contribute to it because it's totally out of their pay grade. Like their mind isn't able to even fathom the idea of an actual God. And they don't understand, like, wow, they have been brainwashed. That's what brainwashing is. It's by manipulating or controlling a person's thoughts by only sharing certain things with them and doing so in a manner that controls their morals and their perceptions on what the world is. You have been brainwashed. I have been brainwashed. That's what the television does. So just saying, like, you need to pay close attention to this and see, like, this is how it works, and this is something that obviously has been done not just since Huxley's novel was written in the 1930s. I mean, obviously, it's something that has been done not just through the television, but through information, through literature, through religion, through everything. So yeah, it's what controls the world is information. And yeah, I mean, would you call the members of the society blissfully ignorant? Are they happy? Well, there are several characters in the novel that it doesn't seem that way. Lenina, like, does she seem like a happy person to you? Does Bernard seem happy? And the other big thing that we talked about last on Tuesday was just the idea of happiness itself. And can you truly be happy if you've never experienced loss? you know the app and Mustafa Mann explains that the absence of loss and pain are enough to make living in the world state in the way that it is worth it. So I guess that is something that people today could argue for or against. So yeah, that catches us up for the most part. And a big part of the chapter right before the last chapter, is just John asking about why religion. Like, why'd you get rid of that? Obviously, John was very passionate about his faith because we saw that's how we met him in the book, was when he was offering to be the sacrifice in the ritual. Now, I just want to get this straight. Aldous Huxley paints a very bizarre picture of religion, and he clearly doesn't really like it. Perhaps he's doing so because he's trying to show you that religion and faith are two different things. Because at his time, Catholicism was obviously the most dominant religion throughout the United States, which is obviously a form of Christianity that's been, like, when Catholicism took many, pagan rituals and kind of worked them into, certain beliefs in the Bible. And that was, obviously around the same time that not around the same time, but that would probably have stood for when Huxley was alive in his life. And there are rituals in that aren't actually in the Bible, and whatever. But the point is that religion is man-made. Faith is not. And in the end too, like there are multiple rituals that it seems that man over time, like that's just another thing that you can get brainwashed about, is um, if you allow a man to tell you about your beliefs and what it is that you have to do to please God, then that's doctrine. There's a big difference, and it actually talks against that in the Bible. So anyway, these are important concepts in the book. John asks Mustafa Mond, like, why isn't people the fact that if a person believes in God, I mean, is that a bad thing? I mean, I guess thinking about it, if you sin a lot, which everybody does pretty much, then it's not always fond thinking that there is a God, because it's scary thought that if there is one, he might not like the way I live my life, right? So that would certainly encourage people to look into the ideas of maybe there isn't one. But that also proves that the idea, if someone does, there's a lot of good that can come from someone believing that there is a powerful creator that is always watching you and can talk to you in a variety of ways and guides you and rewards you and punishes you when you're bad and teaches you in their own way. And John's talking about that, and that's a big part of the conversation that goes back and forth. Mond truly believes that there's no longer a need for religion because there's no crime. The only reason that having a God is a good thing is because they will kind of keep you in check. If you're worried that God's going to punish you, then you might not commit a crime. But John says, and John talks about it on the other side. He says, well, when I think about God, it makes me happy to know that I have a purpose in life because I'm serving his purpose. So I hope that you see basically that's one of the biggest themes that Huxley is now pointing out. And he's concluding his book with this conversation. Of course, right after that, then in the next chapter, he kind of shocks everybody and wraps up the book and doesn't really do so in a nice way that's going to make you feel happy about it. Those of you who read the end of the book were probably not happy with the ending. Huxley was kind of a jerk and killed off John. Well, didn't kill him off. I mean, there were hints to this ending all throughout. I mean, if you read Romeo and Juliet and you know that John talks about Romeo and Juliet in the book multiple times and sees Lenina as his Juliet and sees himself clearly as Romeo, and then after what happens, I mean, it's completely tragic. And so many references to Shakespeare throughout the book itself can kind of tell you that Huxley's probably going to go for a tragic ending. Shakespeare was known for his tragedies. So he throws some confusing stuff in there, like why is John whipping himself? That's another religious doctrine. It doesn't say anything about that in the Bible, but it's the idea that if you've committed sin, you need to be cleansed somehow. Like, imagine in the spirit world, like, the difference. If you've ever heard the song, "This Little Light of Mine, I'm gonna let it shine," then you understand, like, if you are a child of God, or if you do believe and you are on God's good side, then you have a lightness to you. And if you're a sinner and you're not, then you have a darkness to you. And that soul, like, based on, sacrifice and this and that, can get, like, it's like kind of considered a veil. And it gets lighter and darker depending on your state. And some religions teach that by pain and suffering, you're actually purging your sin out of you. It's not biblical, but there are religions that believe in it. So obviously, John thinks he wants to make God happy as much as possible. So he does that, and it gets caught on film by some some people that happen to be watching him. Oh, so John chooses to live. So Mustafa Mond. The chapter ends. Helmholtz and Bernard and John get to have a nice little goodbye, and then they. No. What just happened? Did that just end my video? Okay, good. I'm so sick of technology, man. So they have a nice goodbye, and then they go off to separate islands or whatever, and John is not allowed to leave because he's part of Mustafa Mond's experiment, and the experiment continues, and we're told that right before we then see John leave, and he finds like a lighthouse that's in solitude, or he believes, and he really truly believes he's going to be left alone now to live out the rest of his days. That's not the case, and it's, you know, you actually get to see how technology and that thinking like others, how that similar thinking or group thinking, what damage it can do. And in the last chapter, we really get to see how all of the people of the world state, they do the bidding of Mustafa Mond, and they harp on John so much because they witness a movie that with a character that was portraying him. They all have to obsessively go gawk at him. Doesn't that kind of sound like something that would happen today? And so the people, they can't just leave it alone. They have to go and gawk at John, and he sees Lenina as one of them. And he's just, it's really, it's torturous to know that the people won't just leave him alone. And when he sees her, he like snaps. Like the pressure is too much. He can't take it, and he just snaps, and he beats her or assaults her, and he's in a trance. And it says he's on soma, so they must have sprayed him with something. And after that, like everyone finally is shocked, leaves, and he feels so awful that they come back the next day and they find him hanging, and he had killed himself. What a horrible, horrible ending, right? So all I can really say about that is trauma or bad experiences, even in a book, can really be manipulative. And they can really, I mean, you think about movies that you saw when you were a little kid, and did that somehow alter your perception of something or make you think something? And really, in a way, control your opinion. So I challenge you to not allow that ending to basically change the themes of the whole book. It's almost like Huxley's like, see all this stuff, it's really bad, but it's worse to be like John, or whatever. I don't know. Or maybe his death was heroic, if that's something that you believe in. So yeah, that's the ending. It's been 13 minutes, but I really don't have anything else to say, so I'm gonna cut short there, and I'm gonna post this video for everyone to watch. And yeah, I guess it's been a great try. A lot of you I've already had, and then some of you have never had, and I really feel like I got to work with you. So I do hope that you'll stop in at least in the fall and say hi. And if this is the only experience you get with me, then I hope that you do come and say hi. And if you read any good books, let me know. I'm always going to be here for you, and I hope to see all of you in the fall. If you have questions or ever want to have a meetup again, feel free to let me know. But I really hope that you all enjoy your summer.